G'day there guys, Markee's #1 fan here, it's your main man Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/AmiTheA A-hole. Now if you love today's bloody good content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbecue, smash that like button, and have a bloody good time. Thank you. Posted by user ThrowawayJDYE, titled, Am I the a-hole for asking my daughter to return the wedding ring I had given her since she's no longer married? So my 55 female, daughter 34 female, got divorced 7 years ago after only having been married for just over 3 years. I had given her the wedding ring that had been passed down the female line of my family when her then boyfriend, now 53 male, proposed. My late husband and I all loved my daughter and her husband as a couple, and her husband endlessly doted on her. So when my daughter said she wanted to leave because her husband hoped she'd be a stay-at-home mother to her daughter and that he'd take care of all the bills, end of sentence. The divorce was painful and pretty much took my daughter from living very well and having the best of everything for her daughter to being financially crippled by extreme drags in court proceedings due to her ex's international financial activity. My late husband died unhappy that his grandchild was now dealing with the whiplash of seeing how well her father lived and how penny-pinching her mother had to be. My daughter continues to have money problems because child support was less than expected. This resentment over how my daughter quickly threw away what could have been a good life for her daughter and herself caused me to lean on my son's then-girlfriend for emotional support. A friend once remarked snidely that my daughter had served her a coffee once while working as a barista after her divorce. My daughter blew up at me when I was upset about that encounter, and our conversations waned. My son now has been married to my daughter-in-law for 5 years. They have 3 kids together, and my daughter-in-law and I spend a lot of time together at their house, homeschooling them and managing all household business while my son is away. My daughter, meanwhile, has remained distant to me, and was always working odd hours and preferred to let her friend babysit her child in those early years. She recently moved closer to where we all live, and we've gotten together a few times. She's lost her job and has been asking around to see if there was any openings anywhere. One time after coming home from lunch with my daughter-in-law remarked that she saw my daughter was still wearing the family ring. I realized that I had said multiple times that because I knew my daughter-in-law was here to stay, that I wanted her to have the ring to thank her for being a good mum and wife. I asked my daughter-in-law if she still wanted the rings, and she said of course. So the next time I met up with my daughter, I said that I would help her, but I really hoped that she would give me my ring back because it was intended for a female family member who was married, and her ex-husband had gotten his ring back. My daughter started crying and said that this was not my ring but hers. She also said that she wanted to give it to her daughter and that her ex-husband had his lawyers yell at her to give the ring back, threatening to make things hard for her, and asked if I was going to do the same as well. Am I the a-hole for wanting the family ring to go to a woman who's become closer to me than anyone else? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I could be the a-hole for framing it as a quid pro quo situation where I'd only help her find work if she gave the ring back. I guess I was too focused on my relationship with my daughter-in-law and what we talked about. Why are you skirting around the real issue at hand and saying instead that you're framing it as a quid pro quo situation? It's so obvious that you don't like your daughter and you have an issue with her divorce. You only view your children as valuable and worthy of family heirlooms, or just valuable or worthy in general, if they're married. That's quite toxic behavior, and there's no way in hell she doesn't get that vibe from you. You absolutely are too focused on your daughter-in-law, and instead are choosing to neglect and shame your daughter for her life circumstances instead. That ring was a gift. It is now hers, and you can't ask for it back since you gave up that right and are now salty about it. She's already been through enough with the lawyers and her ex-husband with the ring. Now she has to face threats from you too? Where's your empathy for your own child? What's wrong with you? You're the a-hole. In the comments, Tamika Olivia says, Your daughter was dating someone 2 years younger than you. You seemed overly concerned with her socioeconomic status and how it reflects on you, and the reason she left the marriage was because she wanted to maintain some independence and not be completely dependent on her husband. You're the a-hole, you're playing dodgy with a lot of specifics, but I can just smell the a-hole here. Also, Christ alive, way to blame the daughter for being dragged in divorce proceedings by the wealthy, powerful dude with the international connections for the crime of wanting to not be a housewife. How dare she? And OP asked daughter-in-law if she wanted the ring before asking daughter? Yeah, OP, you super don't get to be sour at how distant your relationship is now. And don't forget, OP's daughter's ex-husband threw his own child into poverty. If he can't have a nanny bang maid, then he'll take his daughter's financial stability and go home. OP, you're the a-hole for being mad at your daughter for refusing to stay happily sold. Try being mad at your former son-in-law for being a lousy husband and father. Did you even read what OP said? The fact that child support is less than expected is clearly no fault of the rich man who was meant to be paying it, but entirely on the mother who just had to have a job and independence. Sarcasm, OP is gross. And not to mention, this is probably very accurate. Quote, if he can't have a nanny bang maid, then he'll take his daughter's financial stability and go home, end quote. I mean, who do you think initiated the divorce? I really doubt it was OP's daughter. Starting over with a new one is usually the solution favored by people who want to control others, not by people who want to exercise their own autonomy. Skippy2716 says, holy crap, you're the a-hole. Hugely. You look down on your daughter because she didn't want to become a stay-at-home forced to be dependent on her husband for a good life. 2. You fault her for having financial trouble when her ex can't be bothered to pay decent child support. 3. It's apparently the end of the world that your daughter served your tramp of a friend while working an honest job as a barista. 4. With all this, you are so self-absorbed that you can't figure out why your daughter would be distant with you. 5. Your focus is on the support that your daughter-in-law gave to you because your daughter disappointed you so badly. And 6. You have the unmitigated goal to all but tell her that she is no longer family because she isn't married? Lady, you are at least 6 different kinds of an a-hole by my count, and I hope your daughter finds the strength and self-respect to turn her back on you and find a life with people that aren't so selfish and cruel. And your daughter-in-law is an a-hole for trying to get the ring. Your daughter has every right to keep it for her own daughter, though I have no idea why she would want anything that reminded her of you. Honestly, if I were OP's daughter, I probably would have just taken off the ring, left it on the table, and never talked to that horrible creature again. OP may look and sound human, but that thing doesn't have a shred of human decency. Congrats, OP. You likely permanently lost your daughter. You're the a-hole, and I hope that your children are that heartless with you in your later years, as you are with the person that you for some reason still call a daughter, despite clearly not caring for them as a human. Posted by user LaDivorcee123, titled, Am I the a-hole for allowing my son to stop seeing his father? I, 47 female, have a son, 15 male, with my ex-husband, 45 male, with whom I have been divorced for a decade. In that time, we've had shared custody. I have my son for the week and he stays over his father's on the weekends. Over a year ago, my ex-husband has started seeing another woman, a widow, 30-something female, with a son, around 8 male, and recently moved them in. My son has been complaining to me about sharing his father's house and time with his dad's new girlfriend and her son. He explicitly said to me that it hurts that his father can no longer prioritize time for the two of them now that there's 4 of them, as every activity, meal, and event must now include them, especially during the pandemic. This week broke the camel's back. My son called me choking back tears and asked for me to pick him up from his father's house on Saturday. Literally the first thing he said to me was, "Am I old enough to change your custody agreement?" He then explained that his father removed the PlayStation he had got him for his birthday from his room and hooked it up in the living room, saying he had to share it with his father's girlfriend's son, as they were now a family. My son did the classic, "You're not my real mum" speech, and called me to pick him up. In doing so, he said some very foul things about his father's ex and even her son, which I refused to punish him for. I have always raised my son to speak his mind and have self-actualization and confidence. He is, admittedly, a rather antisocial young man, but the few people he considers friends he has very deep attachments to. I have always told him that he did not need to make friends with everyone and that there were very few people he was obligated to have in his life. He has made it clear that he has absolutely zero interest in acting as a big brother or a stepson, and while his father is entitled to his love, he wants nothing to do with it and is refusing to be in the house at the same time as his father's girlfriend or her son. I called my ex today after speaking to my son and let him know of these changes, and also that I would look into changing our custody agreement to better fit my son's wishes, which would pretty much give me full custody. Well, of course, my ex exploded at me, that I was raising my son to be self-centered, that it was unreasonable to refuse to be in the room with a woman who will one day be his stepmom, and that I was poisoning my son against him, and that he was too young to decide who he lived with. I relayed these struggles to a few of my friends, and I was surprised by how sympathetic they have been to my ex-husband. They think my son is being standoffish and rude, especially to my ex-husband's girlfriend's son. One even told me that this is what happens when you don't teach your son to share. So, am I the a-hole for seeking to change our custody agreement in accordance with the wishes of our 15-year-old son to no longer require him to see his father because he has no desire to be a part of a blended family? Edit to add, I'm sure what my son said was paraphrasing, but what he said to his father's girlfriend was, "My father's penis shouldn't dictate my life, and to her son, I couldn't effing care less about you." It's not like he called them names, though he was rude. Sure, he didn't call them names, but he did worse, didn't he, OP? Edit to add too, I must emphasize that changing the custody does not mean that he cannot see his father. I am not taking out a restraining order against his father. My son and I decided on full custody for myself, but he can go see his father whenever he wants, if he wants. Under our current agreement, my son must see his father every weekend, even if he's not comfortable there. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I may be the a-hole because I'm not encouraging my son to be accommodating or suggesting that he seek compromise. Rather, I'm allowing him to cut his father out of his life rather than learn to live with people he doesn't like. I think both parties have made mistakes here and are not taking time to think of what's best for everyone here in this situation. It's not like this is an uncommon scenario to find yourself in. I'm sure most people hear this and go, "Oh god, here we go again." Like, the usual reaction to a son like this is not to enable them and threaten the partner with completely retracting their custody. That's very unfair on them, and it's unfortunate because, more often than not, you do have that power. From what you've told me, he's not actually done anything horrendous that would warrant a complete disconnection of visiting rights and custody of his own son. Yes, your ex sucks for moving the PlayStation and going the wrong way about integrating the family. No one's perfect, and he made a mistake here. Your son reacted negatively to that. You both are a-holes for not teaching your son how to deal with situations like this that are high stress in a more positive way that doesn't end in him lashing out like he did. I hope you guys are able to bridge this gap and find the best solution that won't end up with your son hating his father for trying to make things work. Everyone sucks here. In the comments, Sport Ancient says, "I'm gonna go with everyone sucks here. Your ex is an a-hole for pushing your son too hard to bond with his stepfamily instead of accepting that your son doesn't feel the same way and trying to find a compromise. You are an a-hole for not teaching your son to express himself respectfully. Instead of saying foul things about people, especially his potential stepbrother, who, based on your own account, are innocent in all of this. You and your ex also are both a-holes, him more than you obviously, for focusing solely on the custody agreement instead of your son's relationship with his dad. By your own account, he wants and grieves his relationship with his dad. As parents, you need to put aside your resentments and come together to figure out what's best for your son. It sounds like what's best isn't no more dad time, it's dedicated father-son time, without the step-family always involved. If your ex really won't compromise on that, then fine, change the agreement. You aren't responsible for changing your ex's mind, but you should both see if you can find a better solution for your child. This hits the nail on the head. There are two parents here, and neither seems to be particularly concerned about creating an environment where the kid can thrive without divorced parents. The reasonable course of action in a situation like this would be to make the call to OP's ex and tell them, "Your son says he doesn't want to spend time at your house anymore. What are you going to do to improve the situation? He misses spending quality time with his dad." OP says, "I am not preventing my son from having a relationship with his father. Changing custody does not put a restraining order on them. All I am removing is the compulsion under penalty of the law that he must be with his father every weekend. If my son wants to hang out with his dad on the weekend or any other day, he's more than welcome to." You're not facilitating solutions, you're entrenching positions. This is the father's responsibility. Stop pushing more labor onto single moms. The grown man can take responsibility and agency for fixing his relationship with his only child. No, this is a co-parenting responsibility. It doesn't have jack to do with single moms. Read a single mom. I'm a woman and a feminist. I feel like OP isn't being great in this situation. The dad's crimes seem to be finding another girlfriend and trying to get his only child to share a games console. I don't think these are grounds for the OP's son not to stay with the dad anymore, and I hope he doesn't tank his relationship with his dad over this. Everyone sucks here. Whatever your son said to his dad's girlfriend, he needs to apologize. Unless he was just trying to express how he felt and it came out wrong because he's a teen, and that's not how this sounds, he needs to learn that you can't just verbally abuse people you don't like, or because you're angry. Especially because his dad seemed to be the one at fault. His dad has every right to move his new girlfriend and her son in after a year, and you didn't mention anything specifically bad about them. But he's obligated to make sure he gives your son one-on-one time to prevent just these feelings. Of course, your son is going to feel like his dad is choosing a new family, and his father should have never taken the PlayStation out of his room without asking, and should have been willing to take no for an answer. A crucial part of blending families with children is protecting the privacy, spaces, and property of those children. And you have to accept that your husband has a new partner, potentially wife and stepson someday. It seems that you might be using your son's hurt to play out your own anger at this situation. No. Make him apologize, then talk to his father about what led to his meltdown and what might help in the future. Is getting the court involved worth it? Is this even a situation where they could agree to giving you full custody? Everyone needs to stop being ridiculous. You're the a-hole. I'm choosing that over everyone sucks here, even though it may be true because, in doing so, he said some very foul things about his father's ex and even her son, which I refuse to punish him for. If you condone your son being verbally abusive to an 8-year-old, I have my doubts about the rest of your accounts. You are clearly an a-hole, and I think you've raised your son to be the same. Saying something about someone is not saying it to them. As written, there is zero evidence he was verbally abusive to an 8-year-old. He said the things in question to his mother. Does no one read? In the update it says he did direct some harsh words towards the 8-year-old as well. Posted by user ExactLook1657, titled, Am I the a-hole for buying my fiancé a new car? My fiancé and I have been together for 3 years and are getting married late next year, assuming things have improved in the world by then. She doesn't make a lot of money, so we split expenses 30-70, which I don't mind. Her car is a hunk of junk and would cost more to fix the broken AC than the entire car is worth, so she's been looking to get a new used car before the summer. Her birthday is coming up, so I decided to surprise her. I bought a beautiful 2017 Jeep Wrangler with under 30,000 miles, cruise control, power mirrors, and a working AC, of course. I woke her up this morning and led her out to the driveway where I had parked the car and handed her the keys. She says nothing. I tell her it's her new car. The first thing out of her mouth is, "Are you effing kidding me?" Huge fight ensues. She is literally screaming at me out in the driveway. Here are her grievances. She wanted a Honda Fit, which has much lower cargo capacity. She doesn't have any special need for a subcompact. Also never mentioned this before. She doesn't want to pay the insurance. I am covering the full car payment, so her insurance costs less than what she would have paid in payment plus insurance for a car she bought herself. She hates Jeeps. Literally has never said this before. She's pointed out Jeeps before and said they looked cool. Too low miles per gallon, her commute is only 10 miles, and she hates silver and grey cars, and wanted a bright blue or red car. Are you effing kidding me? Here's where I might be the a-hole. I called her a spoiled little brat because that last point especially really got me angry, and I took the car to work with me since she apparently didn't want it. She's been blowing up my phone all morning, basically demanding to know if I really bought the car and if it's too late to return it. I haven't responded, but I don't know if I'm fully justified or if I should just calm down first before I call her back. Are you kidding me? You're calling her a spoiled little brat for being mad that you bought her something that is a huge financial sink and it didn't go the right way or the way you wanted it to? She's entitled to be angry at you over this one. That's such a stupidly blind and ignorant thing for you to do. But I'm not surprised you don't see your wrongdoing here with your head so far up your own ass. Get off your little power trip and realize she doesn't want this car, she's not obligated to pay the insurance, and this could have easily been sorted by you communicating with her and doing this purchase as a team. How have you been with her for 3 years, but you don't have a lick of insight into what kind of car she needs? Do not use this as an excuse to abuse her. That's a trash move on your part, and you should be ashamed of yourself. You screwed up, you fix it, you're the a-hole. Now in the comments, you're the a-hole. You're dismissing all of her concerns because they aren't valid to you. Too low miles per gallon for her? Who cares? You think it's fine. It's an SUV and not a car? Who cares? You like the storage. It's a color she doesn't like? Who cares? You do. I doubt she was the only one screaming in the driveway. You were dismissive and apparently can't be bothered to know what kind of car she actually likes. You bought her a vehicle, sure, but it's one she doesn't like and had no say in. If she bought you a bright pink Prius, are you supposed to just say thank you and pretend to love it for the next 5 to 8 years? He bought himself a car. I'm shocked at the amount of people who still think she should just be grateful for a gift she didn't ask for, choose, or want, just because he spent a lot of money. That doesn't make it a good gift. I feel like it would be a lot easier for people to see the problem here if he'd bought her a wedding dress. She needs one, and they're expensive, so who cares if it looks nothing like she envisioned, as long as it kinda sorta fits? I'm also willing to bet cash money that this isn't the first time this guy has completely disregarded his fiancée's wishes and opinions. Judging from his comments, it hasn't occurred to him yet that not everyone is exactly like him and wants the exact same things as him. So I'm guessing that's why she got super mad, because he pulled this crap again on her birthday. You're the a-hole. You don't buy someone something as big and important as a car without consulting them first. Or at least without being 100% sure you know exactly what they want, as opposed to what you think they should want. take it back, and if you still want to help her out, offer to go shopping with her. G'day there guys, and that's the end of today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed it and were entertained by today's bloody good content. As always, I want to do a quick shout out and a thank you to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. Your beautiful faces and names will be up on screen right now. Haven't forgot about you guys, sorry I was taking a little break there. So yeah, if you see yourself, give yourself a pat on the back. If you want to be on this screen, there's links down to the description below where you can sign up and help support the channel and all future projects that I'm going to be doing on this one. With all that said, I hope you guys have an amazing day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to. I'll see you in the next episode, and I do hope you enjoy it. Thank you.